Next topic, so moving from China and Spain to France. The topic is observability and trusted data transactions. And we have with us Frédéric today, VP Technology and Research at Dawex. But not only that, I think you're also the lead of a working group and you're heavily involved in the French activities. Great to have you here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'll take the 5. No, it's 3.
Is this working? Great. Thank you. Thank everyone, and good morning. My name is Frédéric Bellaiche. As you say, I'm VP Technology and Research at Dawex, and I would have the pleasure today to speak a bit about trusted data transmission and observability. Just a quick word about Dawex so that everybody knows what we are and what we do, and more specifically what we do within Gaia-X. So we're a French company, a scale-up. We've been founded in 2015. We've got offices in Paris, Lyon, which is the HQ, in Montreal, and in Tokyo. So a global reach, and our sole purpose is to provide the best technology to build data spaces. And that's why we're so involved within Gaia-X. Laurent Lafay, one of our 2 founders, is a member of the board of Gaia-X, and I have the pleasure to lead the work of the data exchange services working group within Gaia-X, and also to participate to a lot of other working group, the architecture working group, the technical committee, and now also the PRC. So, enough about Dawex, and let's speak about trusted data transaction. But before that, let's have a look at a global trend that we've seen within the 2-3 years. A global trend based on 3 pillars. There are data regulation. Of course, we all know about GDPR and all the ones which are copy on the European GDPR and from around the world, in Japan, in the US, and so on. And also other important regulations like the Data Governance Act, the Data Act, the AI, and so on. These are very important inputs because they are clarifying the way that we have to do business. So that's one important input. Then there are other pillars, and there are norms and standards, technical ones. From the W3C, from Sentinel, from ISO, and so on, which are very important. We've all seen this talk this morning about the various standards from ISO, from W3C. We're talking about verified credential, we're talking about JSON-LD, and so on. So these are very important inputs. And then there is also the reference architecture, and namely the de facto standard of Gaia-X. So these are 3 powerful levers. They aim to create trust in the data ecosystem, to facilitate interoperability, to ensure the highest level of security, privacy, and sovereignty. And yes, we've been involved strongly in those 3 pillars. We've been working with the European Commission on data regulation. We've been working on standards, and of course within Gaia-X. But that's not enough. As someone said this morning, there is a global trend to go towards standardization, and this is a very important move. So that's why we took the initiative of a standardization process within Sentinel, which is called Trusted Data Transaction. So we're not alone, of course. This is a picture of the member of this workshop. You can see, of course, Dawex, but also Fraunhofer, TNO, Fireware, the European Commission, huge players like Microsoft, association, of course, Gaia-X, but also BDVA, DSA, and so on. And there are also data spaces and data intermediaries like Hub1 or HackDataHub. This is not a closed list. These members are going to expand. We're expecting EDF, Électricité de France, to okay, it's back. To come up within a couple of weeks inside this workshop. So this has been working for over a year now. We started last year with 2 objectives. Part 1 is to come on the table and standardized terminology and concepts. This part is done, we see one of the few results. And part 2 is going to start, well, actually, it started a few weeks ago, to actually identify the key characteristic to define trust and have objective criteria to build trusted data transaction. These are important goals because the idea behind that, because this is a sense and elect process, so this is a pre-standardization process, is to go beyond that and to actually create what is called a harmonized standard. This is something very important at the European level because it is recognized and is created following request from the European Commission, and it can be used to derive a presumption of conformity, especially in the concept of, for example, the Data-X. So it's a very important process. And of course, it's not only European-centric, it's a global reach, and that's why there are people from Data Hub, from Microsoft, for example. So there's been a first step. The first step is achieved, and this is a standard process. So we work together, then we publish documents, and then it's open to comment. So this phase is also finished. The first part is finished. We come up with terminologies, concept, mechanism. It took us about a year. During this open phase, well, there have been a lot of comments. It means that we hit something there. This is something very important. A little less than 200 comments were posted. It means that we struck a nerve. This is something important. So we took the time and take this comment into account and came up with a new version, a final one, which is going to be signed in a couple of weeks. So this is the first step, but this is only the first step. The second part will be a little harder because it's going to go into technicalities, and the objective is to actually define the characteristics of trust and the criteria to measure this trust. So it's going to take about a year. It's starting right now, and we aim to end this process by the end of the year, hopefully maybe a couple of months later, if necessary. So it's a tough project, but it's got results. So I'm not going to go into the details. Actually, these are the one before the comments. So there are slight changes in the comments, in the definition. But we came up with a proper definition for data transaction, for data providers, for data rights holders, and so on and so forth. Now that's a good step. It's been hard. It's been a difficult process. And more than that, we came up with these kind of schemas, which is describing the scope of the data transaction. Once again, this is not the final one. There are a couple of things that have been corrected a couple of days ago, so bear in mind that there are slight changes in the final one. Actually, there's only one word that's been changed, but nevertheless, this is not the final one. But it's interesting because it's kind of a convergent things. There have been people from Gaia-X, from IDSA, from DSCC, from Fryware, all these names have been working together to come up with this kind of schema. It's not a conceptual model, it's more a functional perspective where we got the stakeholders and the roles, the data rights holders, the data producer, the provider, the data user. We got the functional component with the data product, the data authorization and consent, the data license, the catalog, the contract, the transaction itself, and the workflows, the activities, from granting rights to publish things on the catalog, to the discovery phase, to the negotiation, to the data exchange itself, and to the usage of the data. So that's the global scope, and we've defined that. So that's the first step. But if we want to go further, we got to define proper criteria, and there's a new need, for observability. If we want actually to build trusted data transaction, we need to make these data exchange processes observable. It can be done because of legal reasons. because we want to prove that the data has been acquired only by the proper people, with the proper authority, with the proper consent. This can be done because of business reasons, because, for example, you want to build a data marketplace and have billing function, and we have to have these all observability and all the login process to actually build these kind of data spaces. In this context, there will be auditors which have access to logs of the data transaction with, of course, an access policy which restricts the access. And to do that, we have to involve data signature, and we have to get proper mechanism to make sure that the auditor has the proper credential to get access to this and that. The observer action also have to be logged, of course. All this has to be transparent if we want to build trust. There could be processes where actually the data space can mandate a participant or set of participants to actually make these audit data available, and that will be part of one of the processes. And then we have to negotiate to get access to the data, because sometimes these data are private, and it's not necessarily public, but nevertheless, you get to be audited by external party, and there this observability need. And following this pattern, well, it can be extended to all kind of use cases with payment services, notary services, and whatever. So how to do that? Well, first, there's the input from Gaia-X, and namely from the Data Exchange Services Working Group. We've been working for 3 years now, and there's a lot of things inside the documents, in the architecture document, and inside the Data Exchange Services document itself. But this is the conceptual model. I won't go into the detail, but you've seen things that you've also seen before on the schema from Trusted Data Transaction, because it reflects all the input from Gaia and IDSA and BDVA and so on. So you get at the center the notion of data product, which is very central, which is linked to data license and data usage contract. And of course, there are all the participants, the data product, the data producer, sorry, the data user, the data rights holder, and all the mechanism to get the proper authorization, and also logging mechanism. So that's the basic building blocks that we've defined. But it's more than that. Of course, there's this overall schema, but there are also operational models. Well, this is just one of them, but you can see the workflow from the data consumer, the data product provider, the catalog, the exchange, the contractualization, and so on and so forth. I won't go into the detail, but you see there are a lot of actors and there are a lot of events. So from this perspective, we know the events that we want to catch to actually get proper observability. But even if we know where are the events to actually catch, we have to, well, try to get the proper information. And that also can be based on the work that we've done within Gaia-X. Because, I don't know if it's readable, but I won't go into the detail. Within this workgroup, we've defined all the characteristics of all these participants. We got the data producer, the data product, data license, and so on and so forth. And we come up with the proper ontologies. Behind all that, there are VCs, there are attributes, and we've got the proper attributes. Sorry, my eyesight is not good, and of course, I've forgotten my glasses. So there are a lot of attributes for the signature, for the data product usage contract, for the data usage itself, from the data usage agreement, but also for the participant and so on. So we get all the different bits and bobs to get these attributes and log them. Well, that's the ingredient to do that. And that's where we come up with GXFS-EVOR, the Gaia-X Federated Services, the French one. And we work on that topic and actually prototype that. It's not a finished product, it's an open source one. We're catching cloud events. Not all of them is going to be expanded to other ones. For now, we're catching event for the participant onboarding whenever a data consumer or data producer comes into a data space. The contractualization it's hard to say, the contractualization events and the data access events. More are going to be added, mostly linked to the VC life cycles, because of course there are VCs all behind all these, and they can be changed, they can be recycled, they can be ended, and we got to catch also all these kinds of events. So it's just a subset of what the events we can catch with this tool. So it's open sourced. It's been produced by GXFR. It's all available on the GitLab from Gaia-X. We got here a few of the APIs to get information for the onboarding, for the contracts, for the access, and you get all the audit trails also compliant with Gaia-X and generating the proper JSON LD and the proper VCs for all these steps. So it's there, it's going to be expanded, and it's up to you now to take this and hack it. So you're welcome to work on that, and of course to also work within the Gaia-X working groups, namely the data exchange working group, where I have a core member, about 15 people. It's a tough job. We're doing a lot of work, but the more guys or ladies, the more we're happy. So please come aboard, and you're welcome to work with that to expand all this work. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for the nice presentation.